Hey everybody out there, welcome to UPTA Premium, and now we're going to talk about something pretty cool, and that is the scoring system in UPTA leaves a little bit of something to be desired. You know, you're trying to be as productive as possible and then score, but at the same time you're also trying to not let your expenses kind of outweigh the money coming in, right? Just pretty much like any enterprise, any business out there, you're trying to make more money than you spend ultimately, right? And so I thought, well, why don't we just incorporate that into gameplay a little bit? As it stands, you know, UPTA scores where if you earn the most hunger tokens in the game, you win. It's pretty straightforward and pretty basic. But you know, the underlying fiscal policy matters a little bit more, and that is, well, how much did you spend on the way to making that profit, right? You know, because that's all got to come off your bottom line. And so, with that notion in mind, I just decided that, you know, just for the purposes of playtesting, I don't know if this will end up in the end consumer product. But for now, I just have these containers, and it's just real simple. We'll just, whenever you score in UPTA, you just, whenever you have a major cost or major expenditure, you're just going to put it in the cup instead of putting it into the Hunger Token depository. Okay, and so what that does is, you know, anytime there's an expenditure of any type of yours, we're just going to keep track of the costs, right? And so then by game's end, all you have to do is you do final harvest, you figure out what it is that you scored, and then you take what's in the cup and you just subtract it off of your final score. And that is the, in fact, actual score that you have. It's basically your net gains, okay? So I'll just kind of demonstrate that really briefly here. What does that look like on a typical turn? Pretty basic, pretty straightforward. Let's take a look, see what happens. Okay, so in this corner, we have a typical farm, productive farm roll. So we'll take a look at what we've got. What does this person have? Ooh, they have the undercut crop. So yeah, maybe we'll plant that first, right? See what happens. So all you would do is you do the normal productive stuff, your two actions. You're going to disc the field, and then you're going to plant, right? Plant your item. All right, so that costs 2 tokens, right? So instead of putting it into the depository, the 2 tokens that I just spent are going to go in the cup, right? But I have to get the change. Yeah, so basically I just take all 5 tokens, right? Take all 5 tokens, turn them into ones, and then 2 of them go in the cup, like so. And then I get the change back, and it sits in the general funds into the on the person's farm. Okay, and so that's how we can kind of keep track of like what did we really spend the entire game. Now, of course, anytime you make a major purchase in UPTA, that means those funds are going to go into the cup. It also includes gambling, right? You know, if you gamble your funds away, it's kind of the same deal, right? So we could do an example here where, let's say I have a certain amount. Okay, so there's a 3. So I'm ready to gamble on this particular turn. You'll notice I have, I got 17 tokens here. So I'm going to go ahead and gamble, flip my thing over, and let's see what happens. There's 1. 2. Okay, so I spent 3 tokens, right? I came up with a productive farm roll. So instead, the 3 tokens, they're not going to go to the Hunger depository. Let's switch this out. And now I'm going to pay whatever I just spent 3 tokens in gambling, right? So that's going to go in this person's account. Okay? So yes, major expenditures, gambling losses are put in the cup. So then this sort of begs the question, well, this prompts the next question. What doesn't go in the cup? Like, there are certain things that are setbacks in the game. Do those go in the cup as well? Yes and no. Tractor returns, right? Anytime you do a tractor return, that's a bankruptcy, right? Those definitely go in the cup, right? And so, in this particular case, let's say, this person has 1 token, and they've rolled a productive roll, 5, right? Okay, so with this productive roll, I only have 1 token, so I'll just do this. And then I'm ready to do the next thing. Whoops, can't do it, but I want to do 2 actions on my turn. I'm allowed to do tractor return, initiate bankruptcy, and start those procedures. Well, if I do that, that means that I grab the 5 tokens out of the Hunger Token Depository, right? But it also means I am penalized because I did a bankruptcy. And so what that means is the bankruptcy amount that I borrow from the Hunger Token Depository also has to go in the cup, right? It's got to be represented so that it comes off your bottom line at the final outcome of the game. Okay, so now we have expenditures, we have gambling, we have bankruptcy procedures. That all goes in the cup. But what doesn't go in the cup is just regular adversities, right? Things like tractor, or remove 2 crops from the field, right? Return 3 crops to previous status. Adversities don't count against you. Those are just things that happen. Likewise, when other people sabotage you or adversities are played on you by other people, that stuff is not that's not a negative consequence that you had any control over, right? And so, a negative action, right? You didn't have any control over that, so that's obviously not going to count against you. But what you should bear in mind, though, is that when these cards are used in the 3-tier reward system, as given as an example in the previous video series, if you do have these cards and you want to use them as 3-tier rewards, that is also going to be, it's basically, the cards themselves are not counted as payment for something, but it's just whatever the cost of the item is that you're spending on, that is what's going to go in the cup. Okay, so I have 3 cards, I got 21 tokens total, right? And let's say I just want to pay for the greenhouse, right? So I paid 21 tokens, I purchased the greenhouse, right? It's worth 18 tokens. Follow the procedures, and I put the card on there. But now, what I'm going to do is I overpaid 3 tokens, right? So I paid 21. The item only costs 18, so I would get 3 tokens back, like so. And then I would pay 18 into the cup. That was the cost of the item. Right? And of course, that comes from the Hunger Token Deposit. All right, so that looks really good. Right, so now we have to figure out, well, wait a minute, what about payment to others, What if this person owns a harvester and I'm ready to harvest, right? Well, it's pretty much the same deal. When you owe other people, you pay it directly to them, but then you need to take the equivalent that's in the depository, in the Hunger Token Depository, and put it in the cup. So, for instance, I'll say, I've got a nice combo or something going on. Okay, so I have 6 tokens right here. I have a productive roll, rather. It's a 6 roll, and I need to pay them to harvest, right? So I'm going to cultivate. Here's a case where I'm doing 2 actions, I'm cultivating and harvesting. How do I figure out the cost for that? What goes in the cup? Well, in this case, I would cultivate. You can do it however you want. I'm cultivating and harvesting, so that's going to be 8 total tokens. So I paid 10 into the depository. I get 2 back, right? Now I can figure out what are my costs to other people. It's going to be 8 tokens in here, no matter what I do, right? So that comes from the depository, not me. If you take it from yourself twice, then you're going to be overpaying into the cup. So you want to make sure you don't do that. So I took care of both expenses. I got my change back. Now I have to pay them because I'm actually harvesting, right? I've already paid for everything, so you got to make sure 4 tokens comes from the deposit, right? All right, so here's the 4 tokens to them. I owe to them, and then I can go ahead and harvest my stuff, right? All right, so that's how that works. You just got to be sure if you're trying to keep track of expenses during the game, and anything that debits against you, you just got to make sure you don't pay it twice, right? Whatever it is, try to be consistent. Either pay the person first and then restock and pay the cup, or do it the other way: pay the depository first and then figure out your individual expenses to be paid out to other people. Whatever's less confusing for you, right? Okay, so that should take care of keeping track of costs in the game. And all you have to do when you get the game's in is you simply empty the cup. Make sure you don't mix up your cup total, of course, with anything you receive on Final Harvest. And then you just count the amount. So anyway, here is the cup amount. It's pretty considerable, right? It's not uncommon to reach the end of the game and find out that you're in the red, right? You have a deficit. And that's pretty common, right? It's also very common for a person who is in second place the entire game to reach the finish and realize that they did a much better job of cutting back on their expenses, and they may emerge as the winner because their final score wasn't deducted a high amount, because they didn't spend that much to make what they did, right? So it's pretty cool. You never quite know who the real winner is. Right. So, also, there's just one more little subject regarding this topic, and that is you need to make sure when you're figuring subsidies, the cup amount really doesn't figure in. I could think about that, but my gut feeling is that whatever the amount is that the person has on their farm at one particular moment when subsidies arise is really what they should be assessed. To figure out who gets the subsidies. Okay? All right. So I think that's going to take care of it for now. It's not a difficult concept. It's just the question of the logistics and kind of figuring it out. Right now, it looks like a pretty solid idea, and I think I'm going to go with it. And so if that seems confusing, you can always just go back over this video and iron things out. But I think you'll find when you play with friends and family back at home, you will find that there's a lot more enjoyment over the board if you're not quite sure who's winning, right? Adds a little bit of suspense and intrigue, and that's what we like. Okay? All right, so thank you very much, and that's going to do it for this video. Keep on playing, and thank you.